On November 15, 1884, 14 nations came together to legalize the exploitation of Africa. This allowed the Europeans to formalize the partition of Africa and protect their commercial interests. And at no time during this discouraging carving up of the continent did they consider the welfare or the wishes of the African people, and by the 1900s, European states had claimed over 90% of Africa. On February 5, 1885, King Leopold II and the concessionaire companies, under the pretense of a charitable organization called the Association Internationale Africaine, began to mercilessly loot the Congo, and the resulting 75 years of atrocities and unrestrained violence form the basis of this story. Congo's independence from Belgium on the 30th of June, 1960, was troubled from the start. On July 5, the new government was faced with a rebellion, as Congolese soldiers had rebelled against their commanders at the Thiesville military base, demanding higher pay and more opportunities. The rebellion spread quickly, and violence erupted across the country, forcing thousands to flee. And when the Congolese government failed to control the army, the Belgians intervened to restore order. In response to Belgium's actions, the Congolese government made a direct request to the United Nations, demanding that Belgian forces withdraw from the country. On July 13, 1960, the UN authorized an intervention force, and while the United States supported the intervention, the Eisenhower government was concerned that the crisis would provide an opportunity for the Soviets, and sought a diplomatic solution to the crisis. Sadly, these diplomatic attempts proved futile, and with the encouragement of the CIA, Colonel Joseph Mobutu, of the Congolese National Army staged a coup, and on September 14, he ordered the Soviets out of the country. Over the next 4 years, as the Republic of Congo churned through several prime ministers, the CIA attempted to form stable governments by buying votes and financially supporting pro-Western candidates. Despite this enormous effort, the unrest was impossible to quell, and the situation became dire when UN peacekeepers departed on June 30, 1964. On August 4, 1964, and with heavy communist support, the city of Stanleyville, in the Oriental province, fell to the rebel forces. And by October 28, 1964, the situation had badly deteriorated. The leader of the rebel army, Pierre Molela, had placed all Westerners under house arrest, and a smaller number of hostages were also taken in other rebel-held towns. On November 16, 1964, the rebels announced over the radio that Dr. Paul Carlson, an American, would be executed as a spy. Shortly after this statement, a telephone conversation between President Johnson and Secretary McNamara, discussing a well-planned joint operation between the United States and Belgium, led to the approval of a daring rescue attempt. At 5:40 p.m. on November 17, 1964, the leader of Operation Dragon Rouge, Colonel Gradwell, and 14 C-130s took off from the Évreux Air Base in France and flew to the Klein-Brogel Air Base in Belgium, where elements of the 1st Commando Regiment, along with their equipment, were loaded aboard the airplanes. At around 10:40 p.m. the C-130s took off from Klein-Brogel for the Moron Air Base in Spain for a quick fuel stop and then onto Ascension Island in the southern Atlantic. The first aircraft landed on Ascension Island at 3:10 p.m. on November 18, 1964. And over the next 3 days, the 545 Belgian paratroopers and approximately 200 American air and ground crews familiarized themselves with the upcoming mission. On November 21, 1964, at 6:30 p.m., the operation was ordered to proceed to the Kamina Air Base, and at 7 p.m., the C-130s began to move to the next stage. In the late hours of November 23, orders were received that Operation Dragon Rouge would begin on November 24, at 12:45 in the morning, and would make the drop over the Stanleyville Airport by sunrise. At 4 a.m., Colonel Laurent, and 320 Belgian paratroopers began their jump while under heavy gunfire from Chinese-made anti-aircraft guns, and within 40 minutes, the paratroopers had eliminated all resistance and had cleared the airstrip of oil drums and upturned vehicles. Not long after 4:50 a.m., the first of the airplanes landed and offloaded more equipment and troops. And with the airport secure, the paratroopers headed for downtown Stanleyville and the Victoria Hotel where the hostages were being held. During the advance through Stanleyville, the paratroopers encountered rebel resistance, temporarily delaying the rescue of the hostages. As they battled their way through the streets, they stumbled across a group of hostages huddled together. The rebels had fired on them moments before, leaving 28 dead and dozens wounded. As the newly rescued hostages were being airlifted out of Stanleyville, the Congolese National Army and Mike Hoare's 5th Commando Group stormed the city to clean up rebel resistance, allowing the Belgian paratroopers to withdraw to the airfield. And under the threat of constant gunfire, the C-130s and Belgian DC-6s flew 41 flights over the following 2 days and successfully transported 2,000 hostages to the relative safety of Leopoldville. In the late evening of November the 25th, and with the Congolese National Army and Mike Hoare firmly in charge of Stanleyville, 7 C-130s flew in to pick up the paratroopers for another rescue mission. At 4 a.m. on November the 26th, Belgian paratroopers jumped under the cover of fog onto the airfield at Paulus, 225 miles northwest of Stanleyville. Once on the ground, the paratroopers split up, and as one group secured the airfield, another stormed into the city. And while under heavy fire, the paratroopers encountered a Dutch consul, who told them the location of the hostages, and by 8 a.m., 250 hostages had been released, and another 105 were found on the outskirts of Paulus by the morning of November the 27th. And by that evening, the paratroopers were withdrawn from Stanleyville and Paulus and flown to the Kamina Air Base to begin their journey home. Colonel Charles Laurent later reported that 2,355 hostages had been rescued, with 2 Belgian paratroopers killed and 11 wounded, with 9 planes damaged by small arms fire during the assault. Dragon Rouge and Dragon Noir were roaring successes, and the Belgian paratroopers had lived up to their motto of neither boasting nor fearing. However, the dark side of this rescue operation is that other actions that were planned to save more hostages did not go ahead. Operation Dragon Blanc to the township of Brunia, 400 miles east of Stanleyville, as well as Operation Dragon Vert to the township of Watsa, some 375 miles northeast of Stanleyville, were abandoned as logistical nightmares. By mid-December, and before the Congolese National Army and Mike Hoare's 5th Commando Group had completely overpowered the remaining areas of the Simba rebellion, the rebels had executed the 185 hostages that had been abandoned by the task force.